This is Tony Poulos reporting from CommunicAsia 2011 here in Singapore. I have with me today Stevan Hoyle, who is the Director for Asia and Africa at Vodafone Global Enterprises. Stevan, welcome. Great to have you here. Firstly, Stevan, tell me about Vodafone Global Enterprise. What is it?
Well, two dimensions to it. First of all, what customers have been saying around mobility is, I want to service in a country, but I want to service across a country. I want to service across a region. I want to service globally. So what Vodafone have done, he said, we need to create a single global customer touchpoint. So the customer can engage with us in any country for all of our products and services delivered by Vodafone or by our partners, and provide that to the customer in a managed service form wherever they may operate, not where we operate.
So I hear a lot about managed services, and I hear a lot of definitions about managed services. What is managed services in the Vodafone Global Enterprises terminology?
Okay, so our customers are saying, point number one, mobility spend is rising faster than fixed. In fact, some customers argue they'll spend more on mobility in the next 5 years than they will on fixed. Customers are saying a second thing. Mobility is now at the center of their IT and telecom strategy, something that never occurred 3 or 4 years ago. And then customers are saying a third thing. There is increasing complexity from the role of mobility within their telco spend. They want help in managing process, policy, devices, tariffs, spend, applications, and with the explosion in the mobile internet, customers are saying all of this complexity, added to the fact that you're seeing smart devices and tablets enter the market at a far faster rate than was anticipated, they are struggling to control that element of spend, they're struggling to gain value, and they're saying, can you help us manage end-to-end the life cycle of mobility within my business?
Well, let me come back to the mobility angle in a moment. On the managed services side, and you're very much involved with Africa and Asia, which are quite diverse markets on their own, is managed services being taken up more readily or differently in these markets as, say, Europe and America?
Okay, I think there's a couple of answers to that. The first answer is, when you look at the nature of the African or Asian market, it is relatively fragmented. And think about the customer challenge. They operate in 30, 40, 50 countries. That's 30, 40 or 50 contracts, 30, 40 or 50 languages, and 30, 40 or 50 lawyers. And I love lawyers. And what customers say is, that's the pain point. So if you think about Europe, you think about the Americas, much more organized approach in terms of telecommunications. And Vodafone has already been well known for providing managed services in Europe. So in Asia and Africa, the demand is quite clear. Remove this complexity, provide consistency, and help me manage my business cost and productivity as I see this explosion of the mobile internet and new workers entering the workforce. Help me. So to answer your question, unequivocally, because the nature of the market is such, it automatically gives them a challenge if they want to look at mobility across a country rather than simply in a country.
Going back to the mobility issue, Vodafone is very much thought of as a mobile company, let's be honest. But when you talk about managed services and this converged world, how important is mobility in that scenario?
I think there's two answers to that. I think the first answer would be, as I said at the very beginning, ask the enterprise, will they spend more on mobility in 5 years or more on fixed? And the answer I'm hearing time and time and time again, I'm going to spend more on mobility. Just look at the statistics that show the growth in mobile workers. Look at the challenge of infrastructure for enterprises in the emerging markets as they say, how can I take my products and services and deliver it to market? So in terms of managed mobility, our clear focus in Vodafone Global Enterprise is to say, if customers want to receive a consistent, simplified experience where they operate in Asia, we will provide it, full stop. Now, you've seen managed services occur in the fixed market for a number of years. What we're also seeing is customers saying there is this growing convergence of telco and IT. How can you, through your products and service, help us to bring this together into a more organized form? And I think there's two areas. Area number one is, can you provide the service in a consistent fashion? And secondly, can you measure, monitor, and report? So about a year ago, we acquired a business called QuickCom and a business called TNT, and they're specialist telecoms expense management businesses, because we're seeing this latter part about how you make use of information in a real-time fashion to make more effective business decisions really, really critical. And for the customer, mobility and fixed spend is exactly the same thing. It's how they use it. And you are seeing, and you'll see this in a number of markets in Asia, you're seeing a number of markets in Africa, this conversion from traditional fixed services into mobile services. And I think of India, I think of parts of Africa, I think of other parts of Asia, where it's actually a real requirement, because mobility is the only method of communication.
And of course, that's all good news for Vodafone. Stevan, thanks very much for being with us today, and hope you enjoy the rest of CommunicAsia.